Yo, what's going on YouTube? Cat here checking in with another video. Hey, today on the channel, today we got 10 horrific videos you'll never see. Let's go on and get into it.
In today's age, it seems almost strange when a crime or tragedy isn't captured by dozens of phones or surveillance cameras, but there are cameras that captured terrible things, things that were both horrifying and heartbreaking, things kept hidden from the public eye. So much so that even the deepest recesses of the internet can't seem to find them. The news anchors we see on television are usually all smiles, even after reporting the most horrific of world news. But in 1974, news anchor Christine Chubbuck showed the world that you can never truly know what's going on behind closed doors. At 29 years old, despite all she'd accomplished in television, she lacked any close friends, had never had a long-term romantic relationship, and felt that her hard work had achieved her little success.
I was about to say, I thought she was going to be on more lines like, hey, I'm just invested in my job. Like, that's how majority of the time it be. Like, just people just be focusing on their job. Like,
Depressed, she often made offhanded remarks about killing herself, but no one took Christine seriously until the morning of July 15th, 1974. She was reporting live on a police shootout when the image on the screen froze. Christine smiled despite the technical difficulties and calmly said to the camera, "In keeping with Channel 40's policy of bringing you the latest in blood and guts and in living color, you're going to see another first, attempted suicide." Before anyone could react, she had a .38 caliber revolver pointed at the base of her skull, and she pulled the trigger. Christine was rushed to the hospital but died 15 hours later from her injuries. A few weeks prior to her death, under the guise of writing a story, Christine spoke to a police officer asking about the most efficient methods of suicide with the full intention of killing herself. Christine's brother Greg believed that the footage was lost and would never be found, but one source claims as recently as June 2016 that the recording of Christine's suicide has been located, but the woman who had it passed it to a large law firm to keep it safe and hidden. With all of the orchestrated fights and antics in professional wrestling, accidents are bound to happen. And in the case of Canadian-American wrestler Owen Hart, it was an accident that cost him his life.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Owen held a number of different wrestling championship titles and was considered to be one of the best in the world. But near the end of his career, he adopted an alter ego for the fighting ring, known as the Blue Blazer. As the Blazer, Owen entered the arena by descending from the ceiling via a harness for dramatic effect. Owen had performed the trick several times without any issue. However, on May 23, 1999, in front of 16,000 fans at Kansas City's Kemper Arena during a live pay-per-view event, the metal rig holding Owen in the air failed. He fell 78 feet to the ring below, landing on a rope before crashing to the ground. Though it was a live event, viewers at home only saw pre-taped clips of the Blue Blazer, and the arena audience thought it was all part of the act until the medical personnel rushed to the ring and surrounded Owen. The show kept airing, with the cameras facing the audience, who had finally realized that this was no stunt. After several failed attempts to revive the wrestler, Owen Hart succumbed to the internal bleeding caused by his fall, and he passed away. And while several cameras did capture the fall, it's said that the videotapes will never be released to the public.
You know the sad part about that whole thing was like, bro, wrestlers always want to come down from the Raptors. Like, Sting, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels did it a million times. Like,
in April of every year, the city of Boston, Massachusetts, holds a marathon event to commemorate the very first battles of the American Revolutionary War. The Boston Marathon draws a crowd of up to 500,000 people, so in 2013, it seemed like the ideal place to cause some deadly havoc. Brothers Tamerlan and Dzhokhar Tsarnaev immigrated to the United States and settled in Massachusetts with their family, where Tamerlan's belief in the ideas of radical Islam strengthened. Wanting to incite violence, Tamerlan concocted a plan to set off 2 bombs during the Boston Marathon on April 15, 2013, and enlisted his younger brother, Dzhokhar, to help. The day of the race at 2:49 p.m., 2 explosions erupted from the spectators' area, resulting in the death of 3 people, in addition to the 246 who were injured. In the aftermath, the FBI found the remains of 2 pressure cooker bombs that had been concealed inside black backpacks, and they honed in on the Tsarnaev brothers as their main suspects. Dzhokhar was apprehended, while Tamerlan died in a police shootout just days after the bombing. In court, the FBI released surveillance footage they say...
Man, spank them niggas, man. I don't like shit like that, bro. People always want to do messed up stuff, bro. The other brother want to bang it out. You know, they got him out the way. But then you got the other one. Y'all just gonna put him, man, no. Get him out the way too.
Clearly shows Dzhokhar planting his backpack at the site of the second explosion. However, his defense argues while he visibly slips the pack off his shoulders, it's impossible to see whether or not Dzhokhar is still carrying the backpack in his hands beneath the camera's line of sight after the first explosion. Later in the video, he is seen without it, but at no point does the footage show him visibly putting the pack down, as the view is obstructed by other onlookers. Conspiracy theorists were quick to notice that, according to the FBI, the backpacks containing the bombs were both black, while Dzhokhar carried a white pack that day. Because of this, some believe a third unidentified accomplice was involved, but Dzhokhar was still charged with the crime and found guilty of all charges in 2015.
Man, what, bruh? I be on so much high alert when I'm out in public, bro. I'm talking about, bruh, I oughta beat this nigga. Man, I oughta be shit down this nigga leg, man. This nigga, man, bloody, face purple, black, man. Come on, bro. Playing with people's lives here, bro. If you don't like America or you don't like your situation, bro, you have an opportunity to just get up and leave. Fucking clown.
In the business of filmmaking, the cameras roll until the director says cut, but that call came too late while on the set of 1994 cult hit The Crow, starring Brandon Lee, the son of legendary martial artist Bruce Lee. On the night of March 30th, 1993, the cast and crew were set to shoot the death scene of Brandon's character, Eric Draven. However, the cameras ended up capturing real-life bloodshed. The director called action and the scene went off exactly as rehearsed. Actor Michael Massey, who played the villain in the pivotal scene, fired what he assumed was a blank round from a .44 caliber Magnum.
I remember this. I heard this story.
At Brandon. The lead actor collapsed backwards instead of forwards as rehearsed, but the rest of the scene had gone off without a hitch. After calling cut, several crew members went to help Brandon up, only to realize he was bleeding profusely from his abdomen. He was rushed to a nearby hospital where, despite best efforts, he eventually succumbed to his injury. An investigation revealed that the lead tip from a previous dummy round was still unknowingly lodged inside of the gun's cylinder, and that it had severed one of Brandon's major arteries when it was fired with the blank round. His death was ruled an accident, and the cast and crew completed and released the movie to commemorate their fallen friend. Footage of Brandon's actual death was not included in the movie, and it was rumored that the director demanded the video be destroyed. However, several members of the crew claim to possess copies of Brandon's final moments. If the tapes still exist, they haven't to this day been released, and likely never will.
Unless one of their kids were like, oh man, let me go to put this out. Like, you got some weird people that just do weird stuff like that, like over time, like.
In 2012, Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newton, Connecticut invested in an expensive security system to ensure the safety of its students and staff members, and to keep anyone with ill intentions out. During school days, all the outside doors locked automatically, and visitors at the front door were met with a video camera and had to be buzzed in. However, at 9:35 a.m. on December 14th, despite the school's best efforts, tragedy came knocking. Just after the school day began, 20-year-old Adam Lanza, for unknown reasons, arrived at the front door of Sandy Hook with a semi-automatic assault rifle. He shot through the glass windows and made his way inside, where he proceeded to gun down 6 adult staff members and 20 students, all of them between the ages of 6 and 7 years old. Adam
I remember hearing this story right here, bro. I didn't have a kid then. Got a 6-year-old. You know what I mean? Some people just be pure evil. Like, bro, some people just be evil, bro. But like I always say, bro, like, if you feel like that, bro, why why not go in the situation with somebody that could give you a run for your money? Why take advantage of somebody? Like, people real life be cowards, bruh. Be cowards. You taking advantage of people that you know you could take advantage of. You tough. Go to a jail. Go to a jail. Why not go somewhere where you know somebody will give you a run for your money? Fuck it. They niggas be cowards, man.
committed suicide just as police arrived on the scene of the third worst mass shooting in U.S. history. The country mourned with those directly affected by the tragedy, shocked by the brutal violence inflicted upon mere children.
See, where I'm from, bro, you got, it ain't easy to just go into a school, bro. Security at the front door. Even elementary. Why? Because, hey, we don't know what everybody on, bruh.
But during the subsequent investigation, many people were confused by the lack of surveillance footage from the front door camera that would have shown the shooter arriving at the school. The police allegedly seized the footage and have no intention of releasing it. After refusing to release the evidence, many began to speculate that Sandy Hook was a false flag operation by the U.S. government to enforce stronger gun laws. But whether or not we ever see video, there's no doubt that what occurred that day was an atrocity. Steve Irwin was a man who stared death in the face on a daily basis. He'd encountered the likes of venomous snakes and lizards, and everything from tigers to tiger sharks, and of course, crocodiles, all in the name of entertainment and education for his show, The Crocodile Hunter. His final experience with dangerous wildlife was all captured on film, but it would cost him his life. On September 4th, 2006, Steve was hard at work with his crew filming a segment of his program titled The Ocean's Deadliest, showcasing the most feared predators of the ocean. They were off the coast of Queensland, Australia, near the Great Barrier Reef, when the weather turned sour, forcing them to take a break. Steve decided to use the downtime to capture footage of a stingray for his daughter's upcoming TV program. While standing in chest-high waters, Steve approached a large stingray from behind while his cameraman followed, filming from a boat. Then, without warning, the stingray tilted on its front and began rapidly stabbing its barb at Steve. Hundreds of times within seconds, it was said, before swimming away. The cameraman didn't realize anything was wrong until he saw Steve surrounded by a pool of blood in the water. Steve himself was in shock, thinking only his lung had been punctured, when in actuality, the stingray's barb had pierced right through his heart. He bled so quickly he was pronounced dead by the time they reached shore, despite the on-set medical team's best efforts. Steve's death was captured on film, but the Queensland State Police destroyed all of the footage at the request of Steve's family. Though many fake screenshots and snippets of video have appeared online, the genuine footage of the legendary Steve Irwin's death will never see the light of day. This next one is a story we've discussed a number of times in the past. A lonely computer engineer out of Rottenburg, Germany, decided to scour the darkest corners of the internet to find love and his next meal. So naturally, he posted an ad to the cannibalism fetish site called the Cannibal Cafe. Armin Meiwes was on the hunt for a young, well-built man to fulfill his dark fantasy of cannibalizing a willing victim, and he quickly received a response from 43-year-old Bernd Brandis. The pair met on March 9, 2000.
Hey, if you don't have no charges, register this. Register this, bro. I'll up dog so quick, nigga. What you got? What you got going on, bro? What you got going on here, my nigga?
One at Armin's remote house and engaged in sexual acts before the cannibalism began. Armin pulled out a camera and recorded over 2 hours worth of stomach-churning footage, capturing the entire gruesome process. Everything from Armin cooking Bernd's severed penis, to Bernd's final moments after being nearly bled dry, to Armin dismembering and butchering the body afterwards for consumption. Armin froze Bernd's remains following his murder and consumed him over the next year before he was finally arrested in 2002. Due to the graphic nature of the video, it was withheld from both journalists and the public, but members of the jury who were forced to watch it for Armin's trial sought psychological therapy afterwards to cope with what they had seen. And though Armin never revealed his reason for filming his heinous act, some speculate it was for his own sexual satisfaction. Despite alleged screenshots from the tape recently surfacing on the internet, German authorities insist they have the only copy and that it will never be released to the public for the sake of those who would happen to watch it. September 11th, 2001 is a day that will be remembered in the United States as a day of infamy, of needless death and violence. And while most of us associate the attacks with the image of the Twin Towers overlooking the Hudson River, we never forget about the attacks that also occurred in Pennsylvania and in the nation's capital at the Pentagon. Official reports from that day show American Airlines Flight 77 being hijacked by 5 terrorists shortly after taking off. Then at 9:37 a.m. it crashed into the west side of the Pentagon at speeds of at least 250 miles per hour. An explosion caused by the release of jet fuel followed, engulfing the side of the...
I ain't never see this, bruh. I'm from DC, bruh. Like, I ain't never see this, bruh. Hold on, let me go back, bruh. I know about this one. I know the Pentagon got hit, but...
hijacked by 5 terrorists shortly after...
I was a kid, bro. I was a kid.
...taking off. Then at 9:37 a.m. it crashed into the west side of the Pentagon at speeds of at least 250 miles per hour. An explosion caused by the release of jet fuel followed, engulfing the side of the building in flames and causing extensive damage. All 64 passengers died, along with 125 people inside of the building.
I got a couple friends. I got family members that work in the Pentagon right now, today. Don't play with my peoples, man.
Multiple witnesses who'd seen the crash were horrified by the sight of the aftermath, debris in the field, and a hole in the side of the headquarters of the U.S. Department of Defense. In total, the FBI gathered over 84 videos of the crash from the Pentagon surveillance, as well as the surrounding businesses' CCTV footage. However, the videos were kept away from the public for 5 years following the terrorist attacks, causing many to speculate the FBI might be hiding something. Finally, in May of 2006, the authorities released one video of footage, claiming it was the only video out of the dozens they'd gathered that showed the plane upon impact. The poor quality of the video and the fact that only one was released triggered a slew of conspiracy theories, the main one revolving around the United States government firing a missile at its own building. As to whether or not we will ever see the other 83 videos, only time will tell, but it's very unlikely. Wild animals can be beautiful and exotic, but they can also be extremely dangerous. However, Timothy Treadwell, an animal activist and filmmaker, felt differently, saying he had a special connection with wild bears and even preferred them over humans. Which is why he spent 13 summers in a row camping at Katmai National Park in Alaska, home to approximately 3,000 grizzly bears, gathering hundreds of hours of video. In later summers, he was joined by his girlfriend, Amy Huguenard, who ironically had an extreme fear of bears. But despite the positive media attention he received, the National Park Service disliked Tim. He violated several park laws and refused to carry pepper spray or set up an electric fence around his camp as a safety precaution. Tim usually left Katmai at the end of September, but in 2003 he stayed into early October, hoping to catch a glimpse of a particular female bear he hadn't yet seen that season. On the night of the 5th, Amy and Tim were bundled up in their tent when they heard a bear nearing the camp outside. When Tim went to investigate, it is assumed Amy turned on the camera but had no time to remove the lens cap when she heard Tim screaming from outside. Though the video is black, the 6 minutes of audio are chilling enough. Amongst Tim's agonized cries for help while being attacked, Amy can be heard yelling and hitting the grizzly with a frying pan as it mauls her boyfriend. But when the bear begins dragging him away, Tim shouts at Amy to get away, realizing this would be the end of him. But Amy didn't leave, and the bear eventually returned for her. What little remained of Tim and Amy was found the next morning near their fallen tents, along with the grizzly that was responsible, which had been shot dead. Jewel Palavac, a longtime friend of Tim's, holds the only copy of the videotape. She has never watched or listened to Tim's horrific death and has no plans to ever release it to the public. Those who have heard it agree with her decision. Some people are so desperate to be loved that they will go to any lengths to make sure their partner never leaves them. But no one suspected that 17-year-old Karla Homolka would eventually betray her family, all for the sake of a 23-year-old man named Paul Bernardo. Paul was tall, good-looking, and studying to be an accountant. But what Karla didn't know is that he was responsible for at least 13 rapes in the Scarborough, Ontario area. The two began dating, and Karla fell hard for Paul, but he had a keen eye for her younger sister, 15-year-old Tammy. When Paul found out Karla wasn't a virgin, he saw it as an opportunity and demanded Tammy's virginity as penance. Only then would he marry Karla. To his surprise, Karla agreed. On December 23, 1990, Karla drugged her sister with animal tranquilizers that quickly rendered Tammy unconscious. While she was passed out, both
white people, y'all do some of the sickest. This is her little sister, blood, for a guy.
Both Paul and Karla took turns sexually assaulting and raping her, videotaping the entire incident. Their twisted fun ended, however, when Tammy began choking on her own vomit and died shortly after. Even with a chemical burn on her face, Tammy's death was ruled an accident. Just as promised, Paul exchanged vows with Karla in 1991 at an extravagant ceremony.
An accident? And they get to live regular lives?
And thus began a violent and deadly crime spree by the couple. Paul kidnapped, raped, and killed 2 more girls with Karla's help in both 1991 and 1992, both of whom were subjected to the same fate as Tammy. All of the horrific crimes caught on video for the couple's growing collection of tapes. Karla eventually confessed to the sexual assaults and murders, and both her and Paul were arrested. The tapes of their crimes weren't found until after Karla made a plea bargain with the prosecutors that granted her a reduced sentence of 12 years. When the tapes were shown at trial, the footage clearly revealed Karla as a willing participant, and oftentimes she was the one filming. Those forced to watch the tapes during the trial called it traumatizing and horrific. The media dubbed her plea bargain a deal with the devil, and while Paul received a life sentence, Karla was released in 2005 and has since remarried and had 3 children. It is...
No, that's what I'm talking about, bro. Society, bro, the way y'all got this infrastructure set up, bro, the guy gets all this time, she gets to live. It's the same thing, bro. It's the same fucking thing, bro. It's the same ordeal over and over and over again, bro. When schools, guys be beefing over girls, one guy get locked up, the other guy goes to jail. Or one guy gets locked up, the other guy dies. Or the girl gets to live happily. It's like, bruh, come on, bruh. Where's the accountability? They both should be doing life. Shorty gets out, she gets time, she gets a good enough sentence to get out and still be able to live a great life. And she was murdering people. How's that right? And now she gets to live a whole 3 kids. She got out 05, married again, and 3 kids.
Said the videos are so gruesome they will never be made public. That's all for this episode. Be sure to tune in to
See y'all in the next video, bro. This just pissed me off.